بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بار محمد وآل محمد صلوات. اللهم صل على Muhammad وآل Muhammad وعجل فرجهم. Let us begin tonight's program with the recitation of the Holy Quran. For that, I would like to request our young Ali As-Sa'di to please come forward and recite the Quran for us. Let us please welcome him with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum.
صلوات. صلي على محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إذا السماء انشقت وأذنت لربها وحقت وإذا الأرض مدت وألقت ما فيها وتخلت وأذنت لربها وحقت. يا أيها الإنسان إنك كادح إلى ربك كدحا فملاقيه. فأما من أوتي كتابه بيمينه فسوف يحاسب حسابا يسيرا وينقلب إلى أهله مسرورا. وأما من أوتي كتابه وراء ظهره فسوف يدعو ثبورا ويصلى سعيرا. إنه كان في أهله مسرورا. إنا ظن أن لن يحور بلى إن ربه كان به بصيرا. فلا أقسم بالشفق والليل وما وسق والقمر إذا اتسق لتركبن طبقا عن طبق فما لهم لا يؤمنون صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوات
Jazakallah, Brother Ali, for that powerful recitation. One more loud salawat for him, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajhum. I would now like to request Brother Hassan Nayani to please come forward and recite some poetry for us. Let us please welcome him with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajhum.
Muhammad wa ala Muhammad salawat Allahumma salli ala Hassan ke पैगाम बरस रहे हैं ताबूत पे हसन के बाबा के दिल के टुकड़े तूने गिने बहते बाबा के दिल के टुकड़े तूने गिने बहते टुकड़े हजार होंगे कासिम तेरे बदन के बैतुल नबी से हाय उठा है फिर जनाजा बैतुल नबी से हाय उठा है फिर जनाजा यसरब की बस्तियों में झगड़े कफन के दो बार मिल गया है तुमको कफन है मौला दो बार मिल गया है तुमको कफन है मौला मोहताज ही रहेंगे शबीर तो कफन के ज़हरा जहाँ गिरी थी लाशा वहाँ न जाए ज़हरा जहाँ गिरी थी लाशा वहाँ न जाए फिर ज़ख्म खुल न जाए ज़ेरे कफन हसन के पैकां बरस रहे ताबूत पर हसन के बर मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद सल्लल्लाहु
Jazakallah, Brother Hassan, for that beautiful recitation. One more loud salawat for him, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajhum. With this, I would like to request Brother Faizan Jafri to please come forward and recite some poetry for us. Let us please welcome him with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajhum.
برائے خوشنودی امام زمان علیہ السلام بلند تر صلوات اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد وعجل فرجهم لاشا جب سے تے پیمبر کا اٹھایا ہوگا لاشا جب سے تے پیمبر کا اٹھایا ہوگا خلد میں چین محمد خلد میں چین محمد ना आया होगा। लाशा जब से ते पैगंबर का उठाया होगा। सर खुले लहद में तब फातिमा निकली होंगी। सर खुले लहद में तब फातिमा निकली होंगी। जहर जोदाने जो शबर को पिलाया होगा। खुल्द में चैन मोहम्मद, खुल्द में चैन मोहम्मद को न आया होगा। लाशा जब से ते पैगंबर का उठाया होगा। कब्र में हसन तो उसे वक्त ही उतरे होंगे। कब्र में हसन तो उसे वक्त ही उतरे होंगे। माने जब दामन तत्हीर बिछाया होगा। खुल्द में चैन मोहम्मद, खुल्द में चैन मोहम्मद को न आया होगा। लाशा जब से ते पैगंबर का उठाया होगा। दास्तां हसन ने खुद, दास्तां हसन ने अपनी जो सुनाई होगी। दास्तां हसन ने अपनी जो सुनाई होगी। माने रो रो के कलेजे से लगाया होगा। खुल्द में चैन मोहम्मद, खुल्द में चैन मोहम्मद को न आया होगा। लाशा जब से ते पैगंबर का उठाया होगा। दिल के सब हसन ने मान निकाले होंगे, दिल के सब हसन ने मान निकाले होंगे। सेहरा कासिम को ख्यालों में लगाया होगा, खुल्द में चैन मोहम्मद, खुल्द में चैन मोहम्मद को न आया होगा। लाशा जब सेबते पैगंबर का उठाया होगा, जो के मादर के जाना जे पे ना घर से निकली, जो ना मादर के जना जे पे ना घर से निकली, कैसे बीमार उन्हें शाम में लाया होगा, खुल्द में चैन मोहम्मद, खुल्द में चैन मोहम्मद को न आया होगा। लाशा जब सेबते पैगंबर का उठाया होगा, जिनको अब नाज मदीने पे बहुत है गौहर, जिनको अब नाज मदीने पे बहुत है गौहर, उनकी किस्मत में लिखा देश पराया होगा, खुल्द में चैन मोहम्मद, खुल्द में चैन मोहम्मद को न आया होगा। लाशा जब सेबते पैगंबर का उठाया होगा। और मोहम्मद व आले मोहम्मद सलावत।
Jazakallah, Brother Faizan, for that beautiful recitation. One more loud salawat for him, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajjal farajhum. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Respected shuyukh, elders, brothers and sisters in faith, Assalamu alaikum. Condolences to the Imam of our time and to all mu'mineen as we commemorate the passing of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajjal farajhum. And the martyrdom of Imams Hasan alayhi salam and Imam Ridha alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajjal farajhum. Inshallah, tonight is our night one of our two-night program, and we are honored to have Shaykh Mahdi Shahkolahi speak here at City of Knowledge these nights. We would like to extend our gratitude to the Shaykh for accepting our invitation. Just a few reminders before I request the Shaykh to begin his speech for tonight. After tomorrow's program, we have Salatul Jumu'ah on Friday, then our weekly Fajr and Tafakkur programs, this week inshallah being led by Shaykh Asadi. This weekend, City of Knowledge will be a drop-off point for the used clothing drive that has been organized by Savior USA this Saturday and Sunday, 10 a.m. through 4 p.m. inshallah. This Sunday, the We Care Clinic will be sisters only, and inshallah will be led by Dr. Nida Rizvi. And then next weekend, Friday, August 21st, we will inshallah commemorate the martyrdom of Imam Askari alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And the next day, Saturday, August 22nd, we will celebrate Eid al-Zahra here at City of Knowledge. As always, you are encouraged to utilize the City of Knowledge app for up-to-date details of upcoming programs and events. You can also use the app to RSVP, look out for volunteer opportunities and register for them, and donate to City of Knowledge. Inshallah, it is your donations that enable us to serve the community. Jazakallah to all our sustaining members, donors, volunteers, and program sponsors for your contributions. If you're not a member yet, please consider becoming one by contacting our membership director, Brother Zain Rangoonwala. Before I request the Shaykh to come to the minbar, I would like to request everyone to please recite a Surah Fatiha for the marhumin of tonight's program sponsors. Let us please also include our own marhumin, the marhumin of the sponsors of the Fatiha wall, and the marhumin of the Ummah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. With this, inshallah, I would like to request Shaykh Mahdi to please ascend the minbar. Let us please welcome him with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajjal farajhum.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين سيما بقية الله في الأرضين واللعن على أعدائهم أجمعين. اللهم كل وليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك توعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. Respected Mu'mineen, Mu'minat, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I begin by expressing my condolences to all of you, the Imam of our time, may Allah hasten his reappearance, and all followers, lovers of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and his purified Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, on this anniversary where we commemorate the passing of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and also in this night and the next we commemorate the martyrdom anniversaries of Imam al-Mujtaba and Imam al-Ridha alayhimus salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala and with permission from my respected scholars in the audience. My dearest brothers and sisters, on a night like this that we're commemorating such a personality, it's important for us to put into context and in position why a night like this is really important. It's been close to 2 months now, if not longer, that we've been participating in commemorations, lamentations, remembrances of Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam, his loyal companions, those who followed his path until today. And it's key that we connect and reconnect this idea, this legacy, this movement with that of the prophetic mission. This is not separate from, it is not disjointed from, it is not in addition to. It truly is an effort to try and recapture what was always the most important meaning in the Muslim community, and that was the finding of a Muslim character as was taught and instituted by the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. When we look to the Prophet's lifetime, when we look to the events that occurred after his death, and then all the way up until the point of Karbala, we can see clearly efforts that are being made by loyal companions of his, by the Ahlul Bayt alayhimu salatu wasalam, to preserve what has always been the prophetic model and the prophetic mission. And we will turn our attention today, inshallah, to the Quran to help revisit some of those explanations and introductions that the Quran gives as to what the role and the significance of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, was. More specifically, because we were going to commemorate the martyrdom anniversary of Imam Mujtaba alayhi salatu wasalam, especially in times like these where there are a lot of questions and uncertainties, and there may be events occurring that we may not know best how to put it in conversation and find instruction from our history and our legacy when it comes to negotiating differences within the community, when it comes to engaging forces that are set on our infiltration and our deviations and our destruction. We have to try and take important and timely lessons from that. For many people, their question is, if we're spending this time commemorating the martyrdom and the sacrifice of Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam, well, how is that and how does that differ from his beloved brother, the Imam before, that made a peace treaty in those moments? Is that a correct form of practice? Of course, the answer is going to be yes. But how and why is important, and to be able to take a lesson from that in a time where we find ourselves and the Muslim world finds itself engaged with opposing forces and opposing parties, and there are suggestions of and there are invitations towards these sorts of things. What should our posturing and what should our path be? For us to better understand the circumstances that led to the decision of Imam al-Mujtaba, and for us to take some sort of a personal reflection from that, we have to start our inquiry in the Quran to better understand and appreciate the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran tells us and also instructs the Prophet. You have a series of responsibilities. You have been brought for a particular mission and a task. Yes, a part of that, the Quran tells us, is to deliver a message, is to be a Nabi, be a Rasul. That is, of course, a central and important part of what the prophetic mission is. But that serves in a broader framework of helping individuals engage that and take the benefit from that the way that Allah intends. Allah tells us in Surah Ali Imran, amongst other places, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, لَقَدْ مَنَّ اللَّهُ عَلَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Certainly Allah has favored the believing men and the believing women. إِذْ بَعَثَ فِيهِمْ رَسُولًا مِّنْ أَنفُسِهِمْ. That He raised up, sent, brought about a messenger from amongst themselves. يَتْلُو عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتِهِ. What does He do? Well, one of the things that He does is He recites for them the verses of God, the signs of God, the instructions of God, the guidance of God. وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ. and he works with them to purify themselves with the intention and with the goal of building capacity for them to be able to receive and implement more of these signs of God and guidances from God. So it's one capacity of, we can call it teaching, a delivering of a message, and the other is working with them to internalize that message, to actualize that message. وَيُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةِ, and also to teach them the kitab, the book, and al-hikmah, commonly translated as the wisdom. وَإِن كَانُوا مِن قَبْلُ لَفِي ضَلَالٍ مُبِينٍ, while earlier you had been in manifest error. So here as a base, the Quran is instructing the believing community. You're going to interact with an individual that is sent from us. They have certain obligations. They have certain tasks. It's saying that not that we will hold the Prophet to task or to obligation. The responsibility of the believing community is not to say, okay, we're going to do now an audit of your performance. It's the end of the year, and everyone has to be held to account. So we think you did a great job, and you are deserving of whatever you're entitled to from God. But that's not our responsibility. It feels odd to even say that. So why are the responsibilities of the Prophet being shared with us? He doesn't report to me. He doesn't report to you. It's being shared so that there's a mutual understanding of how we're supposed to be in relationship with each other. So if the Prophet comes and says, my role is to deliver a message to you, beyond that is not within the purview of my responsibilities. So if that individual comes and says, did you receive the message that I delivered? All you have to say is yes. And then if they say, do you have any questions or are there any ambiguities? Once you say no, that effectively ends the relationship that you have with this individual. But as the Quran is saying, there is more than that. وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ, there's a purifying element too that you have to build here. So the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, is made responsible and will be asked about and will be held to account his role in our pursuit and humanity's broader pursuit in building themselves, purifying themselves, enabling their capacity to be able to live the realities that he has brought from the divine teaching. وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ وَيُعَلِّمُهُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةِ. Again, the Quran tells us that beyond just recitation, this ayah said teaching, ta'aleem. We know that teaching is just as much about the instructor, the teacher, as it is about the student. So if I want to be an effective teacher and educator, I need to be mindful of the efficacy of my teaching and of my education. It is one thing for me to say, I did my job. I did my duty. It is not upon me to worry about how well my students perform. All of us know and expect, rightfully so, that an individual that participates in the project of educating and building, they should be held to some account of how are we going to gauge the success. And ultimately, whether you're the best teacher or your second best teacher, what we want is the student to be educated under your tutelage. So beyond just recitation, there's something more than that. Allah tells us in other ayahs of the Quran, بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ وَالزُّبُرِ, we sent them with manifest proofs and scriptures. وَأَنزَلْنَا إِلَيْكَ الذِّكْرِ, we sent down with you this reminder. One of the names of the Quran is الذِّكْر. لِتُبَيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ مَا نُزِّلَ إِلَيْهِمْ, for you not just to recite, but for you to make clear, to remove doubts and ambiguities, and also to be able to answer questions and give instruction in complex situations. Sometimes it says, if A happens, then B. Okay. Now everyone feels good about that. What about when C happens? What about when Q happens? What about what? So sometimes situations are simple. Sometimes situations are complex. Tabyin includes the capacity and the ability to be able to work through some of those complexities. And more than that now, because this prophet is a prophet that's sent for the entirety of humankind and is announced and introduced as Khatamun Nabiyyin, that no prophet should follow them, this brings even more of that responsibility and expands the scope of that mission. It should be in a way delivered that not just the generation that is with you, but generations that follow until the end of time, they should be able to understand, take guidance from this. So, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, understood himself and would frequently remind the people that this is the type of relationship I am with you. He was a human like they were. He enjoyed their company as they enjoyed his. But ultimately he said, we have to have some type of I don't want to use the word professional, because when we say professional, we think of corporate. But I'm supposed to have some sort of existential relationship with you. I want you to be my friend and I want to be your friend, but towards some end. Not just for us to enjoy each other's company. So it was heard from the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. He says, I am the result, I am the response, I am the accepted supplication that Ibrahim ﷺ made. When the Quran tells us he made this dua and request, رَبَّنَا وَابْعَثْ فِيهِمْ رَسُولًا مِّنْهُمْ يَتْلُو عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتِهِ وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ وَيُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةَ وَيَتْلُو عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتِكَ وَيُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةَ وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ الْعَزِيزُ الْحَكِيمُ. So, that's the first thing that the Quran establishes as the responsibilities and obligations of the Prophet. So, we said, recitation of the verses, clarification of the verses, teaching kitab and hikmah, and also tazkiyah, the purification of the individual to build capacity. Now beyond that, the Quran also introduces some other responsibilities of what the Prophet will do as a part of this system. Allah tells us in Surah Al-A'raf, in a number of places, this is one of them, and there are other ayahs of the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that this Prophet of yours, you have certain obligations towards him. We'll speak about this inshallah tomorrow night. Tonight we're going to focus our attention on who was the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and what were his responsibilities. Then it's going to create for us, as the Quran says, a certain set of responsibilities for us. This ayah is speaking about both of them, but we'll focus on that first part. It says, الَّذِينَ يَتَّبِعُونَ الرَّسُولِ. Believing people are those who follow this individual, al-Rasul. So first thing, he's a messenger from God. An-Nabi. Al-Ummi. Ummi, of the many meanings that exist, one of them from among yourself, from that geographical area, but one who was taught by God and not taught by any other individual. الَّذِي يَجِدُونَهُ مَكْتُوبًا عِنْدَهُمْ فِي التَّوْرَاةِ وَالْإِنْجِيلِ. This is a person that you would have seen previously mentioned and find written in the scriptures of someone that you should anticipate, someone that you should look forward to. He is someone that has been promised. He's not someone that's going to come and none of you did not expect him. So he's an expected individual. What is he going to do? يَأْمُرُهُمْ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَاهُمْ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. The core obligation is going to have, he's going to invite you to certain things. He's going to tell you to do certain things. He's going to say this way is right and this way is wrong. Do this and don't do that. All of that is undergirded on this basic principle. Whatever he instructs you to do is good, is ma'ruf. It's going to be natural to the human way of living. It may not be natural to your culture or your custom, but it's going to be natural to how you should be living as a human and as a servant of God. وَيَنْهَاهُ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. Anything he asks you not to do or instructs you not to do, it's bad for you. It's not in your best interest. So it makes very clear, you don't have to do so much of the thinking of, if someone is giving me instruction, do I have to put it through some sort of other filter? Now remember, this is in the context where a person is delivering and receiving instruction from an instructor that has been vetted. Not later generations that are receiving through some other means. We're talking about people who were living at the time of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. Is my obligation as someone on the receiving end, do I have to filter against what I'm being told and taught to determine what is good and what is not? No, you don't have that responsibility. It's like a student that goes into a classroom, you tell them, you're also responsible beyond all the other things, is to figure out whether what your teacher told you is right or wrong. What type of an obligation is that to put on a student? We take for granted that the student is in an environment as being taught by an individual that is going to teach them the right things. If they're not qualified, then what are they doing there? It's a simple point, but when you get into some of the instances, some of the examples, now all of a sudden we have a lot of challenges. Quran says, don't worry. You can trust that individual in that what they tell you to do is correct and right. You don't have to stress yourselves out to figure out whether this... Now, if you don't understand, you have a question, it's unclear, you seem to find conflicts and contradictions, it is your right and it's an obligation for you to ask for clarification. That's tabyin. I don't understand. You told me to go out of this door, but the door is locked. How can I go? A person will say, well, you have to turn it this way. It's a push, not a pull. Oh, okay, now I understand. But you can take at face value that what you're being told is good for you. So receive it. Don't fight it. Your efforts is going to be in a different front. وَيُحِلُّ لَهُمُ الطَّيِّبَاتِ. Coupled with that, they're going to make accessible to you and permissible to you those things which are pure and good. وَيُحَرِّمُ عَلَيْهِمُ الْخَبَائِثِ. Those things which are impure, they're bad for you, they're destructive, these are going to be made impermissible. Then وَيَضَعُ عَنْهُمْ إِسْرَهُمْ وَالْأَغْلَالَ الَّتِي كَانَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ. A consequence of all of this engagement is going to be, you're going to be freed from a few things. Those things that serve as inhibitors. Those things that stunt your growth as a result of committing yourself to this program, it's going to release you from that. See, sometimes a person wants to proceed, wants to walk, wants to run. But if someone or something is holding them, they can't go anywhere. They tell you, you know, if you walk up this mountain, you're going to find all the riches of the world there. And it's not a very difficult hike. Anyone can do it. Now all of a sudden you're motivated, you want to go. You take a first step, you feel your foot is shackled. You can't move. So there are certain shackles that serve to inhibit an individual and broader humanity from being able to realize the potentials that they have. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, as a part of his role, as a part of his responsibility, is to free you all from those burdens and break the shackles that have inhibited your progress. But it comes as a consequence of what you're doing. He facilitates that as a part of your commitment. Then the ayah continues, and it speaks about the obligations that the believing community has. As I mentioned, we'll focus on this tomorrow as a part of our reflection. But here is another example of where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is helping us understand what the role and the nature of the relationship that we should be having with the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. Recite salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So these series of ayahs and others have spoken about what it is that the Prophet does. What it is that he's going to do. He's going to do these things. He's going to teach you these things. He's going to engage you in these ways. Now there are another set of ayahs that speak to how the Prophet's going to do that. We've spoken about teacher, educator, learning. Let's just take a moment to reflect and put this within that particular lens. I'm not saying this is the only way to look at it, but I believe it to be a helpful lens to look through in helping us appreciate the relationship that we should be having with the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and what the ummah should be having. And of course, broader humanity as an extension. The project of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, is to build insan. It's to build human beings, to build servants of God, to build those who accept certain truths and as a result of that truth, orient their lives in certain ways. It's to help facilitate growth and realizations of potentials that are God-given for a person's own benefit. Benefit whether in this life or benefit in their hereafter. So it's like a type of teaching and a type of learning. It's a type of instruction. It's a type of training or coaching or mentorship. Imagine you're in an educational setting now. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, is your teacher. There are a lot of things now that we'll automatically assume should dictate the nature of our relationship. If I'm a student and that's my teacher, of course a certain set of respects are going to come in. Respect them. I should make sure that I'm a model student because he is a model teacher. And ultimately, I know that he is putting time, he's investing his time, he's investing his efforts, he's investing his energy for my success. Yes, he still has to stand to account for what he's done, but ultimately he wants to see my success. He wants to see your success. So within that particular context and within that particular framework, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells him, "O Prophet, this is how you're going to build what we call in our language sometimes today, our educational language, your pedagogy. This is how you're going to engage your students. This is how you're going to engage your constituents so that you may be successful as their teacher and they may be successful as your students." Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Ahzab, "Ya ayyuhan nabi, O Prophet, inna arsalnaka shahidan." We have sent you with these roles and capacities. As a shahid, as a witness. Wa mubashiran, as a bringer of good news. Wa nadhiran, and as a warner. Wa da'iyan ila Allahi bi'idhnihi, and someone who calls and summons to Allah with His authority and permission. Wa sirajan munira, and a radiant lamp. Let's explore these 5 things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling the Prophet, this is the role that you're playing. And within that, I said, lens of learning and education. The first thing is, inna arsalnaka shahidan. You are a witness. What's the role of a witness? So if we look to the Quran speaks of shahid, shaheed, a lot of times as an individual that is going to hold the other to account. So first and foremost, the Quran says Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the best of witnesses. He is witness and suffices to be witness. قُلْ مَا سَأَلْتُكُم مِّنْ أَجْرٍ فَهُوَ لَكُمْ. Whatever reward I may ask of you is for your own good, the Prophet says. إِنْ أَجْرِي إِلَّا عَلَى اللَّهِ. I only seek my reward from Allah. وَهُوَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ شَهِيدٌ. And upon all things, Allah is a witness. What does that mean? For someone or something to be a witness. Sometimes other parts of the Quran says when you're engaging in a business transaction, make sure that you have a witness there and you have a scribe there to write it down. Don't give them a hard time. Paraphrasing here. Shahid, someone to serve as a witness has to, 1, have to be present. They have to have been there. They have to have participated and observed. So no one can give testimony about something that they weren't present. No one can participate, for the most part, in normal, natural conditions, in the teaching and the education of someone if they're not present. Yes, oh brother, we have online education. One step at a time, inshallah. Should be a conversation on whether we should have online education. I know we have it. It's whether it's efficacious and correct. So the person has to be present there. Imagine you say, I took my son or daughter to someone to teach them. And then you come to learn that they're not even there. So what did you teach them? Oh yeah, I gave them some worksheets to work on. So what am I paying you for? I can also put worksheets in front of them. So you have to be present. That's a prerequisite. And then beyond being present, you have to be observant. You can't be a good educator. You can't be a good teacher. You can't be a good mentor. You can't be a good coach. You can't be a good guide unless you're observing. Why do you need to observe? Because it's not just about giving them the material. A struggling teacher, and I say this with some sympathy and empathy. A struggling teacher says, you know, I'm burnt out. Here, just take the worksheets and do whatever you want. You learned it, you didn't learn it, you'll figure it out at home with your parents. That's the burnt out teacher. Or the teacher, let's say, that has fallen out of love with their profession. Or the bad teacher. Oh, no. It's also potentially true. But a good teacher has to observe. You have to observe. You've given some instruction. How is my student engaging with the instruction that I've given? Have they understood correctly? Or have they not understood correctly? If I'm delivering my message with my poor articulation, if I don't give it an opportunity to speak with you all after, I'll never know. They may have understood. They may have not understood. They may have misunderstood. And that happens more than you may think. Brother, remember when you said this? Alhamdulillah, at least one benefit of recordings is that we can just go watch the recording. I don't think I said that. You must have heard something else. But I have to be observant to see what my student is learning, how my student is learning, and do I need to make any intervention there? So the role of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, is not just to be present as a part of the community, of course, but beyond that, he has to be engaged. And engaging in the process of what? Of teaching. يُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةِ يَتْلُو عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتِ. So let's take a very simple example. We're all projecting here for a second. يَتْلُو عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتِ, Quran says, it recites the ayahs of the Quran for you. Now we have Mus'haf, the Quran is here, collected, all of it. So imagine one of the engagements that we're supposed to have with the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, on a daily basis, like reading some Quran. That's like يَتْلُو عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتِ. He's not reading, you're reading. But it's the delivery of that. So if that's the teacher, after a while, Prophet, peace and blessings, how much of Quran have you read like this week or this month? If he's observant, then he'll know that it's not being engaged. So next step is observation beyond just presence. Why? To be able to intervene. And that third part is the intervention. To say, no, this is not what we intended. You were supposed to do A, you're doing B now. We gave you certain tasks to do, you're distracted. You're doing something else that you're not supposed to be doing. Or you've misunderstood, or you're jumping ahead, whatever it is. So the first role that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, is playing is to be the role of a witness, shahid. Now, the consequence of that becomes what? Now when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, who are the students that you trained? Show me your students, bring me your students. Then the Prophet will serve as a witness to them. I, as their teacher, did all these things. This student succeeded, this student failed. I didn't discriminate between them. I gave just as much as this student needed, One was able to respond positively to that and take advantage of it, the other one didn't. So he's going to serve as a witness in that way too. On the day of judgment, every nation will be brought forth with a shaheed, with a person that will serve as a witness to them. Yes, that shaheed will be there to say, I delivered my responsibility and my message. I did what I needed to do. These people did what they needed to do, and these people didn't. But the mechanism that leads to that point is one of active engagement. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, didn't bring the curriculum down and say, here's a curriculum for your life. You should be doing this in 1 year, then the next year, then you do with it what you will. No, he taught the curriculum. He engaged the people. He trained students. He realized their potentials. And then he delivered those individuals, those students, those graduated students into society. The project of Ummah building at its core is that. It's taking individuals at whatever level they are, with whatever conditions they may be at, whatever struggles they may have, with whatever aptitudes they may have, and to work with them to help them realize the potentials that they have. So the first thing is you are a shahid. Now, that extends to other individuals that are entrusted with Allah. Huwa yaqbalu tawbata an ibadihi. Don't you know that Allah is the one that receives the repentances of His worshippers? وَيَأْخُذُ الصَّدَقَاتِ, and receives the charities that are given. وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ هُوَ التَّوَّابُ الرَّحِيمُ. Indeed, Allah is all clement and all merciful. قُلِ اعْمَلُوا, so act. فَسَيَرَ اللَّهُ عَمَلَكُمْ, so Allah shall see your acts. وَرَسُولُهُ, and the Prophet, peace and blessings, he will be a witness to your performance. So Allah stands atop alone and is observing the performance of the entirety of creation, including the ummah of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and extends the ability to witness to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, as the core educator, and also extends that to another group of people that have successfully graduated from that program and have been trained. The ayah of the Quran says, فَسَيَرَ اللَّهُ عَمَلَكُمْ وَرَسُولُهُ وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ, and the believing peoples. So there are a few things to take away. There's some theological about, our belief that Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam have been entrusted with this. But the reflection I want us to take right now is that this project of ummah building and of human building, this is not something that is restricted and circumscribed to the generation of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. We also participate, albeit perhaps in different circumstances, in different conditions, but the objective is the same. We have to imagine ourselves as if we were in a time where a prophet came to us and we were expecting him, and he delivered a message, and he gave us instruction. He told us what to do. He told us what not to do. And he freed us from those inhibitors and shackles that prevent us from making progress, and we have to hold ourselves to account. It's happening now. It's a reality now. It's not something that existed in the pages of history. It's not about something for you and I just to read. It's for you and I to also participate in a program that has never stopped. That same ummah that invested in that individual that spent time with the Prophet and saw him and spoke with him, that same was and also is investing in you. You also have value. You also are a participant as a part of that community. You also have potentials to be realized. You also have actions to do that will help realize your potentials and that of the collective. You also are a student under the tutelage of the prophetic teaching in the prophetic class. Now, the circumstances of your instruction may be a little different, but that is one and the same. And so each of us are not just called to, we are a part of a community that we are also obliged to participate in these ways. There are no onlookers. There are no people that get to just, I'm just looking, no. We've all committed. As members of the ummah, we've all committed. So the first thing the Quran says to the Prophet in this capacity, Inna arsalnaka shahidan. It's the first thing. So the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, is present, and through that presence and observation is helping facilitate that learning. For us, a reflection, if we want to participate in the class, to either teach others or for us to become better students, we have to be mindful. The instruction that we are supposed to receive in this prophetic pedagogy is supposed to be observant of our environments, observant of our circumstances. It responds to the needs and the challenges that we have today. If you're sitting in a science class and they're teaching you that the universe revolves, the solar system revolves around the earth, unless that's the history of science to say, previously people believed this, now we believe that, you should say, why am I being taught that? If the capacity of someone as an educator is only to tell you, I can teach you things only from 500 years ago, not from today. The response should be, I'm looking to receive prophetic guidance and instruction for today, for my life. Now all of a sudden everyone can't do that. Now all of a sudden everyone is not capable. Now all of a sudden every system is not robust enough. Every teacher is not qualified. Should demand that. If our engagement with the prophetic Sunnah is one that helps us understand 1,000 years ago, but doesn't help us understand today, we are not engaging the way that we should be. The students are being trained for today's world. Second thing then the Quran tells the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, as a part of your pedagogy are these two things. They have to coexist. Inna arsalnaka shahidan wa mubashiran wa nadhira. Mubashir is always first, tabshir. Right after these ayahs are recited, وَدَاعِيًا إِلَى اللَّهِ بِإِذْنِهِ وَسِرَاجًا مُنِيرًا, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells them, وَبَشِّرِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَبَشِّرِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ بِأَنَّ لَهُم مِّنَ اللَّهِ فَضْلًا كَبِيرًا. Give glad tidings, bring good news to the believing people that they shall receive a great grace from Allah. What is tabshir and tandir? Again, as a teacher, as a mentor, as a guide, as a coach, to help motivate my student, I have to set expectations. Here's what you're going to learn. Here's what you're going to gain. Here are the capacities that I'm able to help you realize should you want to. If you do them, if you commit yourself, if you follow the program, if you're a good student, this is what your outcome is going to be. And it is for the instructor to find an efficacious way to help that student become motivated by those outcomes. If you tell them what it is and they still don't seem motivated, then you may have to restate or reframe for them to understand what the value of that is. So that's a part of the articulation to help the person understand. If a child goes into a math class and the teacher says, by the end of this class, you're going to learn, linear algebra, geometry. If the student doesn't understand the value of that and why they should spend their time and attention learning that, they won't be motivated to learn. It's a very common sense thing. So the teacher has to use the mechanism of tabshir to motivate the student, to help them understand that attaining that skill and competency is good for them, and they should want it. They should desire it, and then now they commit themselves to the program. If we have a motivation problem to be good students, or for our children to be good students, to engage the deen in ways that is deserving of the deen, then we have to do a better job of articulating what are the things that we stand to gain by doing that. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells the Prophet, all the prophets that were sent, وَمَا نُرْسِلُ الْمُرْسَلِينَ إِلَّا مُبَشِّرِينَ وَمُنْذِرِينَ. We didn't send any prophet, any messenger, except that they had these two as a part of their pedagogy, as part of their tools. They told the people, this is what you stand to gain, and this is what you stand to lose. فَمَنْ آمَنَ وَأَصْلَحَ فَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. Those people who commit themselves to that and they do righteous deeds. I'm going to rework it. Hopefully it's not tahrif. Those people who understand the value of the learning outcomes and objectives, and they commit themselves to be good students, فَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. Let them not fear. They will succeed. They will succeed. If you're spending 100 hours and you still can't understand this formula, you will succeed. Don't have any doubt in your mind. But if you're still not sold on the value of that thing, whether you're told once or whether you're told 1,000,000 times, you will not move an inch. So this tabshir, the bringing of glad tidings, is another way, is trying to motivate the individual for them to acquire something that they find desirable. So what are those things? Yes, some of the things that were the glad tidings that were given, they say these are long-term investments and long-term rewards. You may not see the return on the investment that you put till a later time. For students who say you have to finish all 12 years of school, for example, and then you'll come to some realization that it was all worth it. Some types of commitments are that way. Some types of objectives and some types of outcomes are that way. You want to build a house, you have to build it brick by brick, if it's a brick house. If it's another type of house, maybe you can stand it up quicker. But brick by brick, at the end of it, you're going to see after some time that you build something that is sturdy and will last. You will understand why it took a long time. But not everything is like that. The Quran says, we promise them paradise. Tell them that if they do good deeds, we will reward them with all these types of rewards. Now, someone may say, that's a long time from now. That's wrong, by the way. That statement is an inaccurate statement. Anyone who says that's a long time from now has to take a moment to pause. Because only Allah knows when death will come, because He is the giver of life and giver of death. Even for you young ones. Someone says, oh, it's a long time from now. Until, I'm going to go to paradise. Inshallah, you have some self-confidence and confidence in Allah, but no, who says, what long time? You and I don't dictate those times. But beyond that, Quran tells us, no, not all the things that we promise that you'll see as a result of your learning, your growth, it's not just otherworldly, it's this worldly too. ألا إن أولياء الله لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. Quran says, surely the friends of Allah, they have no fear, nor will they grieve. الذين آمنوا وكانوا يتقون. These are the people who have iman and they practice taqwa. لهم البشرى. There's for them a good news, a glad tiding. That same tabshir. لهم البشرى في الحياة الدنيا وفي الآخرة. Both in this world and both in the hereafter. So it's a point of reflection for us. If I, as someone who's engaging as a part of that prophetic mission, that prophetic teaching, if all I'm doing is saying, this life, just don't worry about it. It's all going to be hard. Nothing good is going to come of it. You're just going to struggle, but no. You will see the result of your struggles, of your efforts in this world too, Quran says. Allah dictates what those are, but they will be seen. So, as a result, if someone says, I'm not seeing any efforts, any result of my efforts, nor anyone else, that should be a legitimate criticism. Someone should go to them and work. Say, maybe you're not seeing them, or if they truly don't exist, there's something wrong with the system. It's not delivering the output that it's intending to. So first thing is a bearer of good news. The more a person is able to commit themselves to that program, the more the person is able to be a good student and to do those things that the instructor has set forth for them based on their capacity, the more they're going to be rewarded and the more they're going to be given those glad tidings of the outcomes that they're going to experience. For example, Allah tells us in Surah At-Tawbah, الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, those who have iman, وَهَاجَرُوا, and emigrate, وَجَاهَدُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, and they struggle and strive in the way of Allah. So think of that idea of jihad as being like the most studious student, the best student, the most committed student. They're learning because they've figured it out. The more I learn, the better it is for me. The more I'm bettering myself. That person, وَجَاهَدُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ بِأَنفُسِهِمْ بِأَمْوَالِهِمْ وَأَنفُسِهِمْ, with their self and with their wealth. أَعْذَمُ دَرَجَةً عِنْدَ اللَّهِ, for them there is a great rank that is near Allah. وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْفَائِزُونَ, these are the most successful ones. These are the ones that are victorious. يُبَشِّرُهُمْ رَبُّهُمْ, Allah gives them glad tidings to a few things. بِرَحْمَةٍ مِّنْهِ, a mercy. وَرِضْوَانٍ, and a pleasure. وَجَنَّاتٍ لَهُمْ فِيهَا نَعِيمٌ مُقِيمٌ, that in those gardens there will be lasting bliss. خَالِدِينَ فِيهَا أَبَدًا, they will remain in them forever. إِنَّ اللَّهَ عِنْدَهُ أَجْرٌ عَظِيمٌ, with Allah is a great reward. So the more a person commits themselves to that, the more they're able to get out of that relationship. So the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, encourages, motivates towards that. But also at the same time, there has to be a warning that's given. It's not just about if you do good things, you will receive good things. At the very least, there's something we call a cost. There's an opportunity cost. If you don't do this, you're going to lose certain things. On top of that, your life you're going to struggle with certain things. You're going to experience certain things in life as a result of you not being a committed student. Life is going to request from you. It's going to demand from you certain things that you need to have prepared yourself well in this classroom to be able to succeed. It's one thing to say, I don't want to be the best student. I don't have to get 100. But I just want to pass. Okay? I mean, passing is a first step. It's at least we can say the bar that we set. But success for someone who aspires to do the best when they learn is also an aspiration to do the best in life. So when you set your goals and standards low, you're effectively gambling to live a life that is going to be full of hardships that have been created out of our ill-preparedness. The nature of it is not difficult. I made it difficult for myself. We all have stairs coming and going out of the area. I have bad knees, so it's hard for me to go up 20 steps. It's not the steps' fault. if I'm a young person and, of relatively good shape, it's my fault. Now, the elderly, Allah bless you all. Inshallah, hopefully we'll put some type of an escalator and an elevator at some point. But, of the able-bodied, you could have prepared yourself. You could have trained yourself. There was nothing stopping you. No, that's okay. I don't need to do all that. It is good enough. It's good enough in your 20s. Maybe in your early 30s. But once mid-30s, you're going to start to feel, oh, wow, I wish I had prepared myself. I wish I had taken better care of myself. That's the consequence of the student that when the teacher was telling them, please prepare yourself, you're going to need this later in life. He said, no, it's okay right now. I'm okay just being a C student. I don't need to be an A student. That's what? Tandir. That's the instructor telling you you're going to struggle with certain things if you don't prepare yourself today. Whether that's in your personal life, your families, whether that's in society, whether that's in your sense of self-worth, whatever it may be, your relationship with Allah, relationship with all these things stem from what? Stem from a person being told, protect yourself against a tomorrow that will come, and you can do that by doing these things. But if you don't, these are going to be the consequences. So Allah tells the Prophet, Inna arsalnaka shahidan wa mubashiran wa nadhira. These last two things, inshallah, in a few minutes I'll wrap up because we're just short on time. Recite salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Using that same basic analogy of the instructor and the environment of learning, وَدَاعِيًا إِلَى اللَّهِ بِإِذْنِهِ. So what's the curriculum being taught? The curriculum that's being taught is one that is helping guide a person towards the source of ultimate truth. That ultimate reality, towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the instruction is not to anything or anyone else. The Prophet, peace and blessings, as the one who has been selected by Allah, is the one who knows how to be protective over that. So the first thing is you're inviting towards Allah. Those things that please Allah. Those things that a person can live a life that is pleasing to Allah. That's how we're going to train you. وَدَاعِيًا إِلَى اللَّهِ. There are other things that a person can be invited to. And there are other schools of learning that exist in the world that invite people to other things. These are other schools. Some of them are limited in scope. Some of them want to be expanded in scope. But ultimately, this school is a school that's going to help a person realize their truth, realize their purpose. It's going to help them answer those core questions in life. The person will not look back after all the time that they spent and said, what a waste of my time and what a waste of my education. So, وَدَاعِيًا إِلَى اللَّهِ. He invites to Allah, not to himself, not to anything or anyone else. The other thing is, بِإِذْنِهِ, the Quran says. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, has been given that qualification and certification that no one can give but God. Only God can qualify. Only God can certify. So we gave you that permission, that authority to do that because we know that you are capable. You will not take the student under your wing and under your tutelage and waste their potential. We know that you're up to the standard that we set. That's why the prophets were tested and selected. When other people said, why wasn't I made a prophet? I have a higher social status than he has. I have more wealth and possessions than he has. Quran says Allah knows where to put his messengerhood, his prophet. Allah knows how to select. So the person has to have that qualification. In our participations too, I make this as a passing point. Maybe we can revisit it tomorrow night. The person who continues within this path of teaching within this environment and within the school has to be someone that not only calls to God correctly, accurately, but also they have to have been authorized. A lot of times we just think about what's being said and not who is saying it. Yes, I know in our tradition, we're also taught at times, look at what is being said, not who is saying. That is the truth. But it's not all the truth. Sometimes you should be looking at what is being said and who is saying it. Because if you're in a type of a relationship that you're entrusting your growth the realization of your existential capacity to the person. You don't want to always have to second guess. This person that they said, I verified that this is true, so it's not important who said it. Now the next thing, now the next thing. Now, like I said, it's a student that goes into class that has to worry about whether they can trust the teacher or not. And finally, Quran says, وَسِرَاجًا مُنِيرًا. Not only are you capable and qualified in what you're teaching, you are the best example of what it means to commit yourself to that. You are the shining star of what a graduate should look like. You are leading by example. When people look to you, that's all that needs to be said. You don't have to say anything more. So invite people to our way through your actions, they said, not through your speech. There's a place for speech. There's a place for helping people understand, encouraging people, marketing. There's a need for that. But the most effective marketing is going to be what? Look at the student that we trained, and this is the outcome of it. Look at our graduate. Let me know if you have any questions. You can have hour-long presentations of all the things that we do, we're going to do, we aspire to do, but if you can look to a finished product and say, this is what we're all about, the person says, yeah, I'm confident. So the Prophet himself is someone who exemplifies that. Now, all of this was said in preparation for what, inshallah, tomorrow night? If that's the aspiration of the prophetic ummah, the community of the Prophet, to what extent are we also participating in that same phenomena? And if we look to history, how is it that the Muslim community found itself in only a few short years in a position where someone like the grandson of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, both of them had to find themselves in positions where one had to make peace, sign a peace treaty, and the other was martyred in Karbala. How does that make sense? It's helping us understand those potential failings if we're not careful in our engagement with this school of learning. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us of those who have heard the message of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, have received that message, have gained confidence in that message, and have committed themselves to that message to build themselves in ways that are both pleasing to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and to Allah, inshallah. With the salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. If we can take our hearts to Medina on a night like this where we commemorate the passing of our beloved Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. Inshallah, tomorrow night we'll recite the musibah of our dearest Imam al-Mujtaba and Imam al-Ridha. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Assalamu alayka ya Abul Qasim, ya Rasul Allah. يا إمام الرحمة يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا توسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. In those final days where Rasulullah was in his home and could not exit, his body had become weakened, his energy sapped from him. He would call different companions to come to his side, give instructions. In those final days, it is said that Ahlul Bayt would frequent the house of the Prophet more so than before. Lady Fatima, who was accustomed to come and go from the house of the Prophet regularly, the Prophet would visit her house regularly. On these nights and in these days, Lady Fatima finds herself situated in the house of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. In those final moments, each of them came to the side of their beloved. Each of them would receive instruction and share with them their feelings. In those moments, Lady Fatima came next to the body of her father now, weak and feeble from illness. She began to speak to him. Sometimes he was conscious, sometimes he was out of consciousness. Lady Fatima cried out, "My beloved father, you're leaving me, but you leave me in such conditions. رفعت قوتي, my strength has parted away from me. وخانني جلدي, my patience has left me. وشمت بي عدوي والكمد قاتلي. I have turned restless, my dearest father. My enemies rejoice because of this. I fear my grief will kill me. My father, don't leave me alone." In some moments it's said that Lady Fatima was in such grief that she herself would lose consciousness. As she regained consciousness, she would cry again to her father, "Ya Abata, my beloved father, my dearest father. بقيت والهة وحيدة. I'm going to be left alone. I am going to be left lonely. وحيرانة فريدة. I will be perplexed without any aid. فقد انخمد صوتي. My voice is going to go silent. وانقطع ظهري. My back shall break. وتنقص عيشي وتكدر دهري. My life is overturned. My life has become dark. My beloved father, how can I continue my life after you? These are the moments, these are the final moments that Lady Fatima spent with her father. As she gave her final farewells, is reported in some reports that in those final days, in those final moments, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, would call out and make request. Narrated from Ibn Abbas, he says the messenger would say one after another, repeatedly, he would say, "Ud'u li habibi, bring me my beloved one, call my beloved one." فَجَعَلَ يُدْعَى لَهُ رَجُلٌ بَعْدَ رَجُلٍ. One after another, we would bring companions. We thought he was calling out for them. فَيُؤْرَضُ عَنْهُ. He would turn away from them. At a certain point, فَقِيلَ لِفَاطِمَةٍ. We turned to Fatima and told her, "إِمْضِي إِلَىٰ عَلِيٍّ. Go call Amir al-Mu'mineen. فَمَا نَرَى رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَآلِهِ يُرِيدُ غَيْرَ عَلِيٍّ." We know that the Prophet at this point is calling no one other than Ali. He desires to see no one other than Ali. فَبَعَثَتْ فَاطِمَةُ إِلَىٰ عَلِيٍّ. Fatima goes and calls on Ali to bring him. When Ali enters the room of the Prophet, فَلَمَّا دَخَلَ فَتَحَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ عَيْنَيْهِ. The Prophet opened his eyes to look to Ali. وَتَهَلَّلَ وَجْهَهُ. His face lit up. The Prophet gained strength again. ثُمَّ قَالَ إِلَيَّ يَا عَلِيُّ إِلَيَّ يَا عَلِي. Ali, come near to me, come near to me. فَمَا زَالَ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَآلِهِ يُدْنِيهِ حَتَّى أَخَذَهُ بِيَدِهِ. He brought Ali near to him. He took him by his hand. وَأَجْلَسَهُ عِنْدَ رَأْسِهِ. He sat him beside his head. In those final moments, they say the Prophet lost consciousness. ثُمَّ أُغْمِيَ عَلَيْهِ. Then he lost consciousness. فَجَاءَ الْحَسَنُ وَالْحُسَيْنُ عَلَيْهِمُ السَّلَامُ. In that moment, the dearest Hasan and Hussein both enter the room. يَسِيحَانِ وَيَبْكِيَانِ. Crying and wailing and weeping. حَتَّى وَقَعَ عَلَى رَسُولِ اللَّهِ. Until Amir al-Mu'mineen sat them next to the Messenger of Allah. At that point, the two young boys could not contain themselves. They threw themselves on the body of the Prophet, the unconscious body of their beloved grandfather. They threw themselves on the grandfather. Ali saw in this moment, it may be difficult for the Prophet. He attempts to try and remove the two young boys from the body of their grandfather. فَأَرَادَ عَلِيٌّ أَنْ يُنَحِيهُمَا عَنْ. He tries to remove them from the chest of the Prophet. فَأَفَاقَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ ثُمَّ قَالَ. The Prophet regains consciousness. He opens his eyes and turns to Ali and says to him, "Ya Ali, da'ni." Leave them, oh Ali. I want them on me. I want them on my body in these final moments. أَشُمُّهُمَا وَيَشَمَّانِ. Let me smell their fragrance. Let them smell my fragrance. I know this is a difficult moment for them. Ali, give them this final opportunity. I know what awaits them after I depart. وَتَزَوَّدُ مِنْهُمَا. I want them to take provision from me. وَيَتَزَوَّدَانِ مِنِّي. So shall I take provisions from them. أَمَّا إِنَّهُمَا. Ya Ali, let me tell you in this final moment. فَسَيُظْلَمَانِ بَعْدِي وَيُقْتَلَانِ ظُلْمًا. They shall be wronged. They will be killed unjustly. فَلَعْنَةُ اللَّهِ عَلَى مَنْ يُظْلِمُهُمَا. I ask Allah to remove His mercy from the ones who wrong them. In the report it's come, the Prophet repeated this 3 times. He gives them that final opportunity. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, loves these 2 young boys more than anything. It's reported that any time these 2 young boys would come to the presence of the Prophet would make room for them. The Prophet would stop and embrace them. The Prophet would bring them next to him, sit them next to him, hug them, kiss them. In one moment it said, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, was sitting with the companions, speaking to them. All of a sudden, Hasan and Hussein both enter. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, stops. He embraces them, he hugs them, and kisses both of them. In this report it said, the Prophet leaned over and kissed the lips of Imam al-Mujtaba. But when he turned to Abu Abdullah, he kissed on the neck of Imam al-Hussein. Abu Abdullah left that gathering, quickly came to his mother. She said, why did my grandfather kiss me differently than he kissed my brother? He kissed him on his lips, but he kissed me on my throat. Lady Fatima later came to the presence of her father. My father Hussein is asking me this question. The Prophet says, Fatima, relieve me from answering this question. I fear that you cannot bear the reason why I did that. Fatima insisted. She said, Hussein has asked me, he wants an answer. The Prophet said, Ya Fatima, I kissed both of them out of my love, but the reason why I kissed Hassan on his lips, it's because my beloved Hassan will be poisoned through this means. He will be given a poison that he drinks. He will feel it in his body. It will kill him. But as to Hussein, why did I kill him? Why did I kiss him on his throat? Because I was kissing him in those areas, Ya Fatima, that the swords will strike. I kiss those areas that the swords will strike. Ya Abu Abdullah, la yawm ka yawmika ya Abu Abdullah, ala la'natullahi ala al-zalimin. سيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون.
Ya Hussein, 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 Ya बेखता मारा गया सिफ्ते रसूले दूसरा वाह हसने सब्ज कबाब बेखता मारा गया सिफ्ते रसूले दूसरा वाह हसने सब्ज कबाब बेखता मारा गया सिफ्ते रसूले दूसरा वाह हसने सब्ज कबाब जहर से टुकड़े जिगरे खून से कफन लाल हुआ वाह हसने सब्ज कबाब बेखता मारा गया सिफ्ते रसूले दूसरा वाह हसने सब्ज कबाब बेखता मारा गया सिफ्ते रसूले दूसरा वाह हसने सब्ज कबाब उगलते हुए भाई को बहन ने देखा और तड़प कर ये कहा तेरी गुर्बत पे भाई तेरी ज़ैनब हो फिदा वाह हसन सब्ज़ कबा बेखता